DJI Flip was released in January, and in today's video, we're going to talk about if it's the best budget drone that money can buy in 2025. There's definitely been some controversy, particularly about the form factor on the DJI Flip, and I've also done reviews of the Mini 2 SE and Mini 3. Those have been my go-to recommendations for drones to pick up if you're brand new into flying, and it's like the best budget option because it's inexpensive but also really good quality. But the DJI Flip has some notable upgrades that kind of make it my new recommendation, so stick around to the end of the video to find out what those are. As always, all the DJI Flip photos and videos will be found in the description below if you want to download the files and just play around with them to know what you're getting into before buying this drone. We're going to talk pros, cons, and then verdict of this Flip. So let's start first with the pros and a range test. So when I did a range test of the Mini 3, it only got 1500 meters or 1.5 kilometers, but because of the 04 transmission system on the DJI Flip and upgraded remote, I actually think it's going to get much more. Let's head outside to find out what we get.
So I did get a weak signal warning around 1500 meters, but we are not disconnected yet, and we're approaching 1700 meters. And in terms of interference and everything, I did this exact same flight path. So I'm thinking, so image transmission block there. We'll just keep on going until it kind of loses signal here. And you can see the RC bar at the top. Now I'm hitting red, back to yellow. The transmission is like a little bit choppy, but battery level low is weird. It wants to return really quick, but let's try and bypass that. It's struggling with the wind and everything. But yeah, here's like a pretty good indication, 2200. It's gonna go a bit further, but I'm a little worried I'm gonna run out of battery here, so let's bring her home. And actually, there we go. It lost transmission.
Secondly, I want to talk a little bit about video quality. This thing shoots 4K 10-bit 422, and if you have no idea what I just said, it simply means that it shoots in log and allows you to get better dynamic range and also put like a cinematic grade or play around with the colors in post-processing if you care to do that. With something like the Mini 3, you don't get that flexibility in colors, and if you want to make like a cinematic look to your footage, it's a lot harder to do. So essentially what you're getting is the camera from the Mini 4 Pro, and that's a much more expensive drone, so you get that high quality for a cheaper price with the Flip. Next, we're going to talk about low light performance on the DJI Flip, and again, it's the same as the Mini 4 Pro, so you get something called dual ISO fusion, which is a fancy way of saying that it's better in low light. So essentially, if you know cameras, if you shoot at a lower ISO, you get a nicer and cleaner image, and as you go up on that ISO, the problem is you introduce noise into your image, which kind of sucks. But it resets itself and you get that same clean image at 800 ISO again, which just allows you more flexibility in low light situations to get nice clean results. The other good thing about the Flip is that it shoots at a constant aperture of 1.7, which is quite low, again letting in more light to the sensor and making it yet again better in low light. So I just looked at my channel stats, and unfortunately 99.3% of people who watch my videos don't subscribe to my channel, and lucky for you, I don't ask people to subscribe to my channel, but I do ask once in a while for a like. It goes a really long way in helping my channel get noticed, so thanks in advance for that, and let's dive back in. So I think that we're on point number 4, and that's the NDs available for this camera. There's a lot of third-party manufacturers that offer cheap options for this thing. If you don't know what ND filters do, they're essentially sunglasses for your camera's lens, and then it allows you to get that proper motion blur and cinematic looking footage out of your drone. Here are the ones I'm using, and they were made by Freewell. Point number 5 is that this thing is better than the more expensive Mini 4 Pro, and I know there are some benefits to that, but hear me out. So the first is that it has the same sensor for photo and video, so cheaper is better in that regard. It has prop guards as well, so it's a little bit more safe and you can fly it indoors, and then it's more accessible for beginner users. I know it doesn't have like the side sensors on it, just front and bottom sensors, but it's just as a package, I think so much better of a value than the Mini 4 Pro because you're saving so much money and getting that same camera. Point number 6 is photo capability. Don't worry, this thing does shoot RAW and it shoots at 12 megapixels and respectively 48 megapixels, but unfortunately it's not leaps and bounds better just by shooting 48 megapixels. You do notice like a little bit better, and I'll leave samples of both in the description of this video if you want to just kind of go through that, but I think that this drone does shoot really good photos. In terms of battery life, you might want the Fly More combo, but it's again very similar to the Mini 4 Pro for a cheaper price, so it's rated at 31 minutes. But we know with DJI drones, you actually get probably about 6 or 7 minutes less, so let's say 25-minute real world use out of this. All right, so next up, let's talk quick shots. And in the more recent versions of DJI drones, like I have the Neo, I did a review on that, you could check it out here, but they are making it more vlogger or beginner friendly just by adding a button to the side of the drones, which allow you to press it, and without a controller or without your phone, you can instantly get footage. So you can get quick shot modes like super quick, and that's super accessible, but there is a downfall to that. They limit you to 10 meters away. So when you're doing the quick shots, the drone actually doesn't go that far away from you. So it's not that dynamic of actual video, but it is cool that you can still do. And the best part about it is that that follow mode is just a button press away. So the last point that I want to bring up is that even though it's like a very different design, it's still under 250 grams, which is really cool. In most countries, you are dialed back in terms of like the laws of flying it, and in Canada, 1, we don't have to register it, and then 2, you don't need a license to fly this drone in Canada. So this is the DJI Flip, and by now you know that it's a budget drone that shoots 10-bit log. And if you don't know what that means, imagine painting a sunset with just 8 colors. The blends would look rough because you don't have enough shades. Now imagine over 1,000 colors. The sunset would be more smooth and natural in terms of color. That's what 10-bit log footage does. More colors, smoother video, easier editing. And while this footage may not look flattering, watch the glow up. See, with Motion Array, you can customize your log footage with their large library of LUTs. And because you're using the DJI Flip and shooting in log, you just have more options in your editing software to tweak and play with the colors. So go check out Motion Array's LUTs today and get $50 off select annual subscriptions. You can find more in my description, and thanks so much Motion Array for sponsoring this video. Okay, so now it's time to talk about the negative parts of this drone, and a lot of people have been calling it the DJI flop. Obviously, that controversy around this drone is mostly the form factor, I hope, or I think anyways, because I think it's an absolutely incredible drone, but here are the bad things. Point number 1 is that I was just on the DJI website and scanning Amazon, and I got this thing shipped to me within a day of it releasing in January, but it's already sold out, so it's on back order. If you do find one in your area, that's amazing. Let me know in the comments where you found it. I think they'll be restocking it soon, but unfortunately, if you can't find the thing, it sucks. Next up, if you care about speed of these drones, because of the prop guards on this, it's not going to be as fast as, say, something without it. So the Mini 2, Mini 2 SE, 3, 4 Pro. So in high winds, this is really when it comes into effect. So you say your battery is dying and you're low, but like you by accident flew your drone a little too far away. You're not getting that thing back in sport mode like as quick as you typically can. So just be mindful of that if you've flown previous DJI drones. Next for cons for me anyways is size. I know it's lightweight and still somewhat portable, but I've been flying drones for a long time, and especially like these minis over the past like 4 or 5 years. And I just think that this folds up kind of funny and it takes up more space in your bag. So unfortunately, even though the weight is there and it's the same as the other drones, I just think it's like kind of a trippy design. But I'll live with this form factor because it has such a good camera on it. We did talk a little bit about the sensors, and it does have a front sensor and bottom sensor, but where do accidents mostly happen? When you're flying to the left or flying to the right? And I have many stories that I could share with you at another time, but you probably have one yourself of flying it sideways into a tree. The Mini 4 Pro is awesome in that regard because it's going to stop itself. You're going to save your drone, but for this, be careful and maybe look into DJI Care Refresh because it does not have side sensors. Another con with these sub 250 gram drones is windy conditions, and this is no different. Oftentimes, like if you're in heavy winds, the wind is going to overpower what the gimbal is able to compensate for. So you just have to be mindful of that. I talked a little bit about in the DJI Neo, it's really bad there, but because this drone is heavier, it is quite a bit better. But yeah, it's just something you need to be mindful of. And if you follow the channel, you know that I almost crashed my Mini 2 SE in Greece with the wind just taking it away. So be mindful of that. I couldn't couldn't think of too many cons for this drone, but the fact that it only has 2 gigabytes of internal storage is kind of funny. I don't know why they included that. You could just like put in a memory card and you're fine. But I did find it like kind of odd. Like they could have upped that to at least 16 gigabytes or 32. And the last con, and this is kind of a big one, is that when you're controlling this drone with your phone, which it's beginner friendly, so it's like you're able to do that. The controls are super cumbersome, number one, so I highly recommend having a proper DJI remote for this. But the other big one is that they didn't include manual exposure controls. So you're really limited in what you can do on the app. So I do think there will be software support for this in the future, and DJI is gonna fix that. But again, don't buy this being like, oh, it's totally fine. I can save money. I can control it with my phone. Or I could just use like those quick shot modes to fly this thing. You're going to be super limited in what you can do. And if that's your sole purpose, you probably don't care so much about quality. Just buy the DJI Neo. All right, so what's the verdict? Is this the best budget drone that you can buy in 2025? And in short, my answer is yes. So this might be a controversial opinion because I know that a lot of people don't love this, but I'm basing it off the price and me having owned the Mini 2. I even own the Mini 1, the 2 SE, the 3. I flew the 4 Pro and did like a review on that. So I have the Neo. Like I've flown all of these things, and I just think for the price point and the quality of camera that you get, you might not be ready yet, right? You might be a beginner, but the fact that this shoots like cinematic level, really good photos, but like video, and you can just slap an ND filter on that and get just like matching footage to your camera and your GoPro if you're shooting a log on all of them. You might not even know what this means yet, but if you're growing in this industry, you're gonna want to be able to get the best possible quality out of the things that you buy. And I think at this price point, it's just an incredible value. If you enjoyed this video, I have so many other reviews on drones, and I'll leave them in cards here that you can just go check them out. I appreciate you being here. We'll see you in the next one. Matty out. Peace.